Welcome to the Web Talk series organized by the School of Modern Media, University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, UPES Dehradun. Friends, this is the fourth in the series of Web Talks organized by us. And today we have some eminent panelists with us, and we are going to discuss about television anchoring and reporting in the age of social media. But before that, friends, let me briefly introduce you to our university, our School of Modern Media. The University of Petroleum and Energy Studies has been there since 2003 at Dehradun and is today one of the most respected institutions in this part of the country with over 15,000 students, and it is ranked as the only academic institution which is in the great place to work. Now, let me take you to the School of Modern Media. I am Professor K.G. Suresh, the Dean of the School of, the Founder Dean of the School of Modern Media. And till recently, I was the Director General of the Indian Institute of Mass Communication. And prior to that, I was the Senior Consulting Editor with Doordarshan News. And prior to that, I was with Asianet, Z, PIO Television. And of course, I began my career way back with the Press Trust of India. And I left there after a long innings as its chief political correspondent. And I have also dabbled in corporate communication. I was group media advisor to Dalmia Bharat Limited. And yes, I have been associated closely with academics for a pretty long time. I was the first adjunct professor at the Makanlal Chaturvedi National University of Journalism. And I've been teaching at IIMC for the last 2 decades. And currently, I'm also attached with the Jawaharlal Nehru University with the Special Center for Disaster Research. So let me take you to the School of Modern Media. You can see a visual on your screens. Now, we are going to have world-class infrastructure. I am going to take you on a walkthrough immediately after this. And so we will be having state-of-the-art labs, which would include television labs, PCR, we would have a photography lab. We will have a new media lab exclusively, which is rarely there in other media institutions. And we are going to have a language lab where the focus would be on articulation, which is so important for both television, radio, and also in terms of language writing skills. So we are going to have a language lab also. We are going to have an integrated approach with School of Design, School of Law, School of Health Sciences, School of Engineering. They are all going to contribute immensely to the School of Modern Media. So it's going to be an integrated approach. Our focus would be on the futuristic media. We are going to prepare students for the future of media and the future newsroom, how it is going to be. We will be having AI, AR, VR, special effects, VFX, and all that. And we are offering now 10 plus specializations. We have got a great advisory board comprising the who is who from the industry, and the industry experts also on the advisory board. You can have a look, right from Mr. Ruben Banerjee, editor-in-chief of Outlook, to Romana Isar Khan, who is a well-known anchor with ABP News. And also guiding our students would be eminent people from the industry like Mr. Himanshu Shekhar and Ms. Alka Saxena, who are stalwarts in their own right. And they have also, you can read blogs written by them on UPS blogs on various aspects of media. And that would be Himanshu's blog is also there, particularly with reference to Corona. And we are going to offer about 10 courses that would include right from the basic, journalism and mass communication, the bachelor's course to master's, to MA in photography, to MBA in media and event management, public relation, advertising, and digital marketing, and digital and mass media. These are the various aspects that we are going to cover. And we have got great industry connect. We have got a record at UPS of 100% cent percent placements, and we have got national and international alliances, and that's why we are part of the global university systems, which is one of the leading educational conglomerates across the world. So on that note, that is briefly about the School of Modern Media. I look forward to having some of you as my students in the coming days. And now let me straight away come to today's topic. But before that, I would request my colleague, Kanika Pasricha, to kindly share a small walkthrough on the facilities that we would be having at the School of Modern Media. Thank you, Kanika. Now, on that note, let me begin the conversation today. We are going to talk today about television anchoring and reporting in the age of social media. A lot of people are getting today, they are all inside their homes and getting information through social media. But the fact remains that today, a large number of audiences have shifted from radio, from entertainment channels to news channels. And how has television been impacted by social media? How are reporters coping up with it? What about anchors? And what does it really take to become a successful anchor? What does it really take to become a successful television reporter? Is it just a glamorous kind of a job where you just have to dress up, and if you're good looking, is that good enough to come on screen? No. Unfortunately or fortunately, no. You need to have you need to put in a lot of hard work. You need to really study hard before you come for that show. You have to really work hard. And that's why we have got today two of the, leading names from the industry. And I'm really grateful to them for sparing their valuable time. Now, without taking much time, let me straight away introduce today's panelists. And we are really fortunate to have a senior journalist, Alka Saxena. She has a career span of more than 30 years that includes print, broadcast, and digital media. Her most recent assignment was with the digital arm of Amar Ujala Group as editor, digital and convergence. She was the former managing director of News Express channel. And she, of course, was the former editor. She's the former editor of Z News, and which is the first and widest private news network of the country. She had a 10-year association with the channel over 2 different innings. She's one of the founding members of and leading anchors of Aaj Tak. She has been a pioneer and one of the most credible news anchors on Indian television, widely acclaimed by viewers and critics. She anchored India's first live television election show that has become so common today. That was a 72 hours live election counting, Aaj Tak Aapka Faisla in 1998. That's 22 years back. She doesn't look that ancient, And since then, she has anchored all live election analysis till date. And she began her journalistic career with Ravivar, and then she worked with Sunday Observer, so both English, Hindi, and also print, electronic. She was, of course, very well known for her program Zara Sochiye, you know, and then she has won a lot of accolades, including the Hindi Academy Sahitya Samman for Journalism, New York Festival Award for Best Investigative Program, Women Achiever of the Award, Rajasthan Ratnakar Award. I mean, it will take me, the whole perhaps this session to mention her achievements. She's a member of the Editors Guild of India, and she has contributed to book on Handbook of Media in Contemporary India published by Oxford University, and she was adjudged among the top 50 Hindi journalists of India by exchangeformedia.com. Great. Really fortunate to have you here with me, Ms. Alka Saxena. And also joining me today is another celebrated anchor known for his inclination to academics and research. And that is Himanshu Shekhar Mishra, who currently works as Editor Government Affairs in New Delhi Television, NDTV India. He was part of the Prime Minister's official entourage to the UN Annual Summit in New York and also to the Indo-Turkish Summit at Ankara and Istanbul. He has covered Prime Minister's official visits to Pakistan, January 2004, and Afghanistan as a television journalist. He has reported and researched on issues related with climate-related disasters like floods, legal rights of disaster victims, threats posed by climate change to development process, sustainable development goals, etc. He holds a master's in philosophy degree from the Center for West Asian Studies, School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. His MPhil dissertation was titled Military in Politics, a comparative study of post-war Turkey and Algeria. He did his post-graduation in political science from the Center for Political Studies, School of Social Sciences, JNU, and graduation in English literature from the Delhi University. Well, I can go on and on. As I told you, he is also currently involved with several leading institutions in terms of, he has presented papers at national and international conferences pertaining to disaster management. He is considered an authority, and I have had the opportunity to share the platform with him on several occasions. Thank you, Himanshu, for joining this panel and guiding the younger generation. You have always been very responsive to all my requests in all the institutions that I have served earlier also. Now, on that note, let me first request both of you to make your initial comments, which would be briefly for, say, about 4 to 5 minutes, where you would give us an overview about, say, Alka would talk about television anchoring, how it has changed over the years, and then Himanshu, if you can focus on how television reporting has changed over the years, then we would come to the specifics. So let me begin with Alka. Over to you, Alka.
Thank you, Professor Suresh. And hi, everyone out there, my young friends and future journalists. And one thing I can say is that whosoever is present in this webinar, definitely they have some idea about what they want to become and why they want to become. Definitely, journalism is not just another job or just another career. It's a position. If you be particular about in journalism, say anchoring or reporting is one thing, but as a journalist, you are privy and you are the first among the rest person who gets the information from around the world, and then rest of the world follows you. Now you can get information from uh, any source, physical source where you know people, your contacts, or virtual media, your social media. From there you can get the information. Like in today's topic, we are discussing about how things are changing, how social media is kind of what role they are playing. But first and the foremost thing, being a journalist. Being a journalist means you are the source of information for the commoners. You are the one who is correcting the whole out information of the world to your audience. So you are very important. The very field that you have such an important position, such an important role to play, makes really your adrenaline pump. And maybe that's why you see glamour also. We'll come to later on in this webinar about discussing about how much role the glamour plays and things like that. But one thing is there, that it's lots and lots of hard work. What you see on a screen is really a result of hours and hours of hard work. It's just not just dress up and come in front of a screen and speak. What will you speak? Today is not the time when there are news readers who just read from the teleprompter. In today's live scenario, it's not like that. You need to know your subject. And how would you know your subject? You have to know your subject thoroughly. And information coming from any source, and every source you have to get that. You have to check it. You have to find it. Is the onus is upon you, because the person who is behind the screen, he is not appearing on the screen. He has slightly lesser responsibility, because every information going through your face, your mouth, has your credibility involved in it. So you have to be rather more careful, and you have to be, whether you get the information from whichever source, whether it is right or wrong, but if it is going with your face, you have to be doubly sure that it has to be right. So first thing is that you read a lot, you get the information from all possible sources, and you double check. That is how you become so powerful. Powerful means when you are credible, you are trustworthy, you are powerful. Your power comes from your audience, which gives you a kick. Like some people say that, okay, we have seen you on TV, yeah, you look good. That gives you a kick. But more kick comes, more adrenaline pumps when somebody says that, oh, I have seen you on such and such debate. You were wonderful. That particular guest was not ready to answer your question, and how you came around and kept on questioning him, and finally you got the information we wanted to. Then that is the real pleasure. Then that is the real power you feel. That I have done it because my audience is like the arm janta, the commoners. They want to ask X, Y, and Z question, and I am the mediator. I made it possible. You have seen lots of anchors are known for this kind of skill, and some anchors, they just do the panel discussion, and sometimes audience think that, okay, he just let go the guest without this particular information which I want. So the important thing is just speaking into the mic or facing the camera, looking good, is good. It's not. If this is a conception, this is a misconception. It's a wrong idea. Lots of hard work goes into it, and as we go into question answer session, we'll deliberate on that.
Thank you, Alka, for putting that in perspective. And now I would request Himanshu to give us an overview about reporting, television reporting, how it has changed over the years. I remember, I mean, I myself have been an anchor for an international channel a long time back, but things have certainly changed over the years from what NDTV or Aaj Tak were a program on Doordarshan to independent channels, and today they are having NDTV has a vertical channel HOP, which is only for mobile users. So, I mean, so much has changed, So very briefly, in a nutshell, if you can share your perspective.
Suresh sir, thank you very much. It has been a privilege always. There's so much to learn from you. Your ideas, your concepts are always thought-provoking, and I can tell you that I have learned a lot just watching you speak on different fora. Social media and journalism, I was just thinking that how the goalpost of journalism has completely been transformed in this age of social media. And it made me think that whenever a new technology comes in any sector, whether it is media or any other sector, it transforms the way that sector works. It transforms the work processes. It transforms the way business models exist in that sector. And the same thing has happened with journalism, and especially with reporting. And before coming and preparing for this interaction, I was just going through a simple list of how many followers global leaders have and how many followers news channels have. That gives you a broad idea as to how the goalpost of news channels has completely changed in this age of social media. Donald Trump has 81 million followers. That's today's list that I saw. Narendra Modi, 57.9 million. And the channel which has the highest following on Twitter is CNN, which has a following of 55.4 million. Now, in terms of Indian channels, NDTV has 13 million followers and Times of India has 12.8 million. And that gives you a broad idea as to how social media has given global leaders a platform for having a direct interface with their supporters, with people whom they want to have a direct dialogue with. And that has actually been also the challenge that was earlier the domain of the news media. Now, a lot of news flow happens where Prime Minister Narendra Modi or American President Donald Trump would directly share the knowledge that they want to share the news that they want to share with their followers, with people directly. And that shows how much the world actually has changed for us. And I remember in 2014, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi became Prime Minister, for many weeks we kept waiting as to who will be the press secretary. If you cover the PMO, the most important person for you is the press secretary. And after a few weeks, we were told that, sorry, there will be no press secretary in Modi government. And that made me think that perhaps this was the first time after independence that India has a prime minister who doesn't need a press secretary. And he gradually, we could see that he was focusing more and more on social media in different ministries. Social media cells were set up, and young officers of Indian Information Service were deployed in these social media cells, who then started becoming the face of different government departments on social media. And gradually we have seen this process move forward in the last 6 years. Now, how it has changed my life? It has given me an additional platform through which I can have a direct interface with the audience, because there are a large number of people who are now increasingly accessing news and information directly on social media. So while earlier we used to just do a story for our news channels and then not think much about it, now what do? I do a story for my news channel, and then I request my web team to upload my story on the website. And then the web links that I have, that I share on almost all social media platforms where I'm active, so that more and more people can see. Because the idea of people accessing news at their own pace, at their own convenience, has become possible in this age of social media. So it's very important for me that when I do a story, I also share it on my social media platform, so that every person I follow and every person who follows me can also access the news as and when it is convenient to them. And it makes the goalpost that much more, I would say, challenging, and yet at the same time convenient for me. Now, when we also do a story, we try and put it on YouTube. I remember whenever a big news break used to happen in pre-COVID times. Now, of course, we rarely go to office. In the pre-COVID time, it was almost a protocol. The biggest story of the day, we would debate on YouTube. YouTube was seen as the emerging medium, a very powerful medium. And I remember once my son, who is just 11 years old, told me when I came from work that he thought that I had become very famous. So I asked him that why he thought that I had become famous, because he saw me on YouTube. He wants to become a YouTuber. He's on YouTube for 3-4 hours every day. And he has seen me on NDTV more than 100 times, but he never thought that I was a famous person because I come on news channel. But when he saw me on YouTube, he had that perception that every person who comes on YouTube is very famous, is very powerful. And that shows the power of social media, in the sense that increasingly we would see news channels becoming very active on Twitter, news channels becoming very active on Facebook, news channels becoming very active on YouTube. And that is what reporters are also doing. And I know that there are a large number of my friends who are very, very active, and they write provocative statements, ideas, share their ideas. And that, in fact, I think has made the discourse formation very vibrant. But at the same time, one last thing that Suresh, that I want to say is that it also brings challenges. One concept about which you have spoken most perhaps in the last few weeks is infodemic. Now, in this age of infodemic, increasingly I find that I'm surrounded by millions and millions of pieces of information. Now, how do I shaft what is genuine, what is credible, from what is not genuine, what is not credible, is a challenge that I think not only every Indian is facing today who is active on social media, but across the globe, there is a concern that, for example, if I do disaster management, there have been studies that during disaster situations, while social media has emerged as a very important asset in terms of giving adequate and right direction to government agencies, relief agencies, in terms of flow of relief work, but it has also created a situation where some people have tried to mislead the entire direction of relief by giving and sharing wrong information on social media. So we need to set up standards of morality, of ethics, of regulation on social media, so that more and more news medium, now news is shared on social media. Media organizations are adapting more and more, becoming more and more visible, more and more present on social media platforms. These standards must be formulated by the government as soon as possible, so as to ensure that every person who is on social media can also be held accountable for every piece of information that he shares. And that should be true for reporters and for every person, citizen, journalists, or any person who wants to share. And one last point about mobile journalism, which has transformed our life. I know that last 3 years we're doing mobile journalism, and during COVID-19 period, I can tell you that in the worst lockdown phase, where there was no movement allowed, and of course we had the freedom to move out, but I could see that even those reporters in containment zones could do live broadcast with their mobile phones. That's the power of new media. That's the power of mobile technologies. And COVID-19 crisis has once again proved that journalists have this as an asset in most trying, most difficult situations. They can use new communication, mobile technologies, social media platforms to disseminate information which the society desperately needs, especially during time of crisis like COVID-19. Suresh sir.
Thank you, Himanshu, for that very, very informative overview. You have spent, I think, that decades of television in that. So, friends, for your information, those who are unable to join, let me tell you that, or due to technical reason, you can visit UPS Facebook page. We are live streaming right now on UPS Facebook page. You can like it, share it with your friends also, and also on UPS YouTube channel. All right. Now, let's now straight away get into the discussion. Since my last job was as editor of Doordarshan, last television job, let me do it in DD style only. Instead of my imposing any views on the panelist, let me request the panelists to give their expert opinion on the various issues. Alka ji. Many students are attracted to media because of the glamour quotient. But most of them are not aware of the hard work that comes with the job. People look at names and they say they have followers, in thousands, in lakhs. And it's like they're like celebrities. I mean, they even come on Amitabh Bachchan's KBC. So can you elaborate that, they can see the glamour, but they can't see the hard work behind it?
Of course. And if you permit me, I would like to recall when this 10 years when I was with Z, there, I think more than 1,000 students I have interviewed, the students and applicants who used to come for the job. And there used to be a form they have to fill up before coming for the interview. And there was a column asking them what they want to become in television industry in the next 5 years. 90% of girls used to write anchor, and good 60-65 used to write, boys used to write anchor or report. So because this glamour attracts, what they see, they only see the front side of the screen. They don't know what's happening on the background. So let me tell you, all the students out there, that of course there's glamour. There is glamour. But just reaching to that point is very, very difficult. And even after reaching there, you have to keep abreast yourself with lots of information, lots of things, lots of hard work goes into it. And not only this, there are two parts, Professor Suresh, I would like to tell the students. One is that what happens in a real television scenario in a news channel. Let me inform the students that there is no such post as only anchors. In news channel, everybody is either a reporter or a producer or a copywriter or a video editor or a cameraman or something. Anchor is anchor is just another arm of it. So if somebody is doing anchoring, he has other things also to do. That means, Professor Suresh, am I audible?
Yeah, please. I think Himanshu has got a call, emergency call. Yes.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
So the thing is that
occupational hazards.
Yes.
Yes.
Suppose you are seeing an anchor on the screen, but you do not know what happened just half an hour before that. The anchor who was running, doing her his or her reporting for in under 40 degrees sun for 3-4 hours, he or she comes back and just splash some water on the face, rush to the newsroom. She didn't have food since morning, but her anchoring shift is coming, so she has to appear there, and she just appears, smile and relax. But you do not know what's going on. She's hungry, she is famished, and then she waits for the first commercial break where she can have a bite or maybe have some information what all is going on in the news scenario, because she was out there in the field. And then she has to sit there for 6 hours, and those 6 hours she has to look good on a screen. Good means pleasant, smiling, and the audience doesn't know that is the art that she has to do. This is one part. Second part is when you come on the screen, the whole scenario, the whole everything, the whole responsibility is on your shoulder. I would like to say the anchor of a news show is like anchor of a ship. The anchor brings stability to the ship, and in news television, anchor brings credibility to the show. The more credible the face, the more the show is uplifted. That is why there are some anchors who are more trustworthy, and people would like to see them. They have more, I can say, they bring more audience to their show because people trust them. If XYZ has said something, they don't need to go back and check their other source. That is the thing. But to become that, they have to really work hard on what they are saying. They have to really read a lot. They have to do extra work because the team behind the camera, they do their work, and then that's all. But the person who is giving it has extra responsibility. So this all hard work comes before coming to that level, and once you come to that level, then also you have to keep, because you are on the screen. Suppose 8 o'clock you are on screen, right? You didn't have time. You just rushed. You just took bath, got ready, rushed to the newsroom, makeup room, and to the studio. You didn't have time to see thoroughly the newspapers. Then you bring the whole lot of newspaper with you, and the first break comes. You are just rushing through the newspaper. You say, "I'll have tea or something later on. I'll just check what all happened." And then you just on your mobile or on the website, on your computer, on your laptop in the studio, you are searching the web. What happened in the night, what happened in the early morning, because when there is a live situation, and your producer says, okay, we are taking a live phono of X, Y, and Z. You need to know. I mean, you do not want to look a fool, because the answer has been question is to be put by you and not the producer or not the editor. You are on the screen, so you are the main person. So it's not only glamour, it's lots of hard work for knowing things, and also as I informed, that there is no such post as anchor, that you come, you anchor, and you go. No, you have to do other work. Either you are a reporter, or you are a copywriter or producer. You have other responsibility, and all those responsibility have a deadline. Your anchoring comes later. Your deadline, you have to make this program, so you have to make this program, and after that there is anchoring duty. And now nobody is bothered whether you have eaten or not, whether you are tired or you are fresh. It's not. And sometimes it happens, maybe so many times it happens, that you are anchoring and suddenly you are informed after 5 hours that okay, the next anchor is, he will take another 1 hour because he's finishing his work, or he hasn't come back from the field. Then you have to slog on for 1 more hour in that situation.
Absolutely.
And there are no timings. in this
Absolutely.
industry when every second is important. You are called when the tsunami. I still remember when I just came home at 11:30 when the tsunami happened. I was having my grub and I sent my driver back and I was having my grub after changing clothes, and then there was suddenly this news. I had to rush back, leaving my dinner. I had to rush back, and because being an editor, I had to arrange other things also. Then I was told by the management that you have to anchor also. First, I made the show possible, show running, because right night time there are not so many anchors, and then I got ready and was on the screen and just finding out on the web what all is happening. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, Alkaji. All that glitters is not gold. In fact, I was reminded when there was this television anchor who had to read out a news item about an accident in which her husband was the victim, and but she did not show it on her face, so she knew that he was traveling by that car. She never made it public. And secondly, any mistake that you make, that is just unpardonable on screen. If you make a mistake, others can do behind the work, they can always rectify, but for an anchor it's an issue of I remember there was this particular anchor who almost lost her job because she referred to the Chinese president Xi Jinping as Lemon Jinping, only because a proper homework was not done. This is a fact. I mean,
yes,
if you do not keep yourself up to date, there is a possibility of you are making big blunders, and people just don't pardon you easily. That way, because the credibility of the channel is at stake. Coming to Himanshu, you have been a reporter, and you are a bilingual reporter, and that's an advantage. I want you to talk about that also, the advantage of being bilingual and multilingual. I see you reporting both for NDTV and NDTV India, and but I want to know, may not be the case with your television channel, but generally, how is reporting style and content different from English and that of a language channel?
Well, a very important question. So there are two parts of your question, sir. One is this: in this age where social media platforms are flourishing and journalists have to now adapt to this new technology and make their presence felt on these social media platforms. So it's very important that every media person, uh, because we see that news organizations, especially national media organizations, are trying to have increasingly their presence on all these platforms. So it's very important that a person is more useful for his organization if he can speak English language, if he can speak Hindi language, if he can write well in English, if he can write well in Hindi, because that gives you the leverage in terms of how much you can contribute to the different platforms where your media organization is active. So from that perspective, I think it is very important that we should try and develop and build up skill base as much as possible so that you become more and more useful. And that helps you professionally in the sense that if I can write for ndtvkhabar.com, if I can write for ndtv.com, if I can report for NDTV 24/7, if I report for NDTV India, I think that's a challenge for me because I have to adapt to different platforms because all of them perhaps require a different kind of skill base. But at the same time, it helps me make a presence on all these platforms, right? So there is an opportunity if I keep upgrading myself, my skill base, so I make a larger presence, get more opportunity, more space to make my voice felt. I can carry my news in simple terms. If I put it, I can take my news to more number of people. If I can report in English, if I can report in Hindi, if I can write in English for ndtv.com, if I can write in Hindi for ndtvkhabar.com. And that I think is a lesson that every young journalist must learn.
Absolutely.
Depending
Absolutely.
on how much skill base you have will actually help
Yes.
you have an outreach plan to a much larger audience. Now, if I can write in Hindi, English, speak in Hindi, I reach out to 4 different news platforms. If I only report for one platform, or if I can only good at writing in English, perhaps ndtv.com will say, okay, give me a copy on this. But other platform, perhaps I will not be present. So very important that every journalist should try and learn and work in as many languages as possible. I think
as many languages as possible. So
yeah,
language
as many
skills
languages.
are very important, and that is
And your
why
language
at
lab,
UPS
yeah, very important. Language lab, because
we
we
are
also
having
see,
the language.
yes, yes,
Yes,
yes, and the proliferation of regional languages, regional media, very, very
absolutely,
important. I remember Ramoji Rao sir
absolutely.
once told me, I was in ETV News and I had traveled with Vajpayee to US, and I came back, he called me to Hyderabad and he said that I want to know what does foreign missions think about ETV network. So I told him, sir, that you allow me to speak the truth. And he said, of course, yeah, you can. I said, they don't think about us.
Huh.
He got a little annoyed. I said that if a American ambassador has to give an interview, he selects Times of India or any big national media to give his interview. He doesn't select us. So we never get big interviews by Pakistan High Commissioner or other people. Because if they want to
Yes.
give a message to the larger audience, they select the big ones. He got annoyed. He said that, what is this national media? Telugu is also a national channel.
Yes.
He is very annoyed that this thinking that exists in Delhi, that this is from regional media and this is from national.
In fact, regional newspapers and regional channels have a lot more audience,
more
and
reach,
even
yes.
the advertising revenue is shifting to the language channels in a
Right.
big way.
Right. So
you spoke
if
about the need. Yeah, yes.
One
Himanshu,
last
you
thing, sir.
spoke
One
about.
last thing.
Yes.
One last point.
Yes, please.
So
Yes.
I'm saying that if tomorrow, if let's say
Yes.
I'm a Bengali and I'm working in a national channel, and so I can have a much larger outreach plan if I can also work in the regional language in which the platform exists. So your utility, because I've worked in ETV, which had 12 channels, and I remember that very often I would get the advantage when big shoots would come, because they will have a perception that he can speak in different languages, can
Yes.
interview people in different languages. So your
Absolutely.
utility goes better, so you grow much faster. That space is created.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That also partly answers my next question. I mean, the other question that I had in mind about journalists, the need for journalists, today's television journalists, to be multitaskers. I think you have already answered it, that they have to write for their online portals of the channels. They have to be active on social media.
They should
They
do
have
that.
to be.
I would rather
Yeah,
say that they should do that.
they should
must do that.
Now,
I'm a journalist because I have a
Alka,
purpose
yes,
in mind. Yeah.
absolutely. Alka ji, that brings me to a very important question. I know of a friend of mine who is also a young friend of mine who is also used to be your colleague, and he is a well-known anchor in Hashtag. He is not on social media. I can name him. He's a friend, Said Ansari. He is not on social media. But being on social media, how does it help an anchor or a reporter?
Okay.
Apart from personal popularity, I mean, does it help you get feedback?
Of course, you see, being on social media is a personal choice, and one can be on social media, one cannot be. So I would not comment on that, but definitely you get lots of information on social media today. Like why when Narendra Modi came to power, and he said earlier, if you remember, I think you would be able to recall all that social media was considered little thing for little not a very sophisticated thing, and it was considered a thing for younger generation.
Trivia.
Yes, trivia kind of thing. It wasn't considered so serious. But then when he came to power and he became prime minister, he told all his ministers and he told all his MPs, everyone has to learn to work on digital media, social media. Everybody should have a Twitter account and be very active on Twitter. And now you see, and it's not only about India. Globally, it was there. But in India, it was considered like a fancy thing. It's not for sophisticated, intelligent, learned people. But now everybody has to be there, and the
But don't you also have this problem of people trolling you, and that somehow impacts you also? When people troll you, when people criticize you, and these days a lot of people even abuse you, and particularly women journalists, they face much more abuses. So how do you look at that?
Well, it's a it's a kind of thing which comes with every technology. So technology is like that.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, double-edged sword, and okay, you can block it, but sometimes you are so fed up with the kind of abuse, the kind of language which makes you shiver, that you haven't heard that kind of in your kind of bringing up, and suddenly somebody is being so abusive. So you really become sometimes feel very insecure. Being a female, you feel rather insecure because they threat you, and all these kind of things are happening. And sometimes they threaten you in such a way that you think that somebody is actually stalking you. They are following you. They become so much personal that it's very scary, and not only for you, for your family also. And that's why so many times I have seen that women journalists and women celebrities, not only journalists, women celebrities of other kind, films, television, they take a sabbatical because when they can't handle, they think just to sanity should preserve. So they're off social media. But barring that, you see, you have to be on the social media, whether you comment or not, you write or not, but you have to know what Mr. Modi is writing, what Mr. Trump is saying, what he tweeted about, because lots of things are happening first on social media, then on mainstream media. So you can't avoid it. There's such thing which you can't avoid it, and it gives you loads and loads of information. The only thing is you have to check what is your source, which website, which is credible or not. Some newspaper or some small blog says something that Trump said this. But if you check the Trump's account, you'll get to know what he's saying. So your source in social media also has to be credible. But if somebody is ignoring social media, I think he's doing. I think it's not good, because it is very important. It gives you so much of information.
Absolutely.
That,
Absolutely.
it's a
So
social
on
media.
this issue, at least I find that both Himanshu and Alka, both are on the same page. And friends, I must tell you that we will be having this discussion for another 10 to 15 minutes. After that, we will be throwing it open. I'm already seeing questions on this Zoom call. I'm seeing it on UPS page, Facebook page. So please post your questions, and then I will request the panelists to respond to them, because at the end of the day, the whole idea is to tell you about these things, to clear your doubts in this regard. Secondly, I need to mention here that today we were also supposed to be joined by a third panelist, senior anchor of Lok Sabha television, Mr. Anurag Punetha. Unfortunately, he lost his father, due to which he could not make it today, but we will have him on some other occasion. Our condolences and prayers are with him. So that is the reason why, as per our creatives, you would have seen his name was mentioned, but he is not there today. Okay, coming to the next question. How Himanshu, how do you think that social media is an enabler or an impediment?
I would say it's an enabler, in the sense that it creates that platform where people have an additional access, I would say, a more of a direct access to the primary source. Now, in this case, for
But
example,
doesn't it also give you a pulse of the mood of the people? It
that's
enables
right.
you to get a pulse of the people.
That's right.
So it's a two-way traffic. It's not just that you are giving, you are posting things.
Yes.
You also get to know about so many things.
We get, for example, all information, I would say, at one time, especially, let's say, on Cyclone Amphan's movement, every hour bulletin that we were getting. It's possible that you're following Med Department, you get every hour the bulletins are coming on Twitter. It's easier for you to access information, and that, I think, has been largely the protocol. It also depends on the organization as to how active that particular organization is in terms of sharing and uploading new information. But I do realize that it's a great enabler, in the sense that the onus lies on you as to how much presence you can have on social media, and it also, the onus lies on the user as to with how much frequency he or she wants to access information on social media. It entirely depends on the needs that every social media user has. But of course, it's a great platform. It's an impediment when some people try to abuse the platform, when some people try to spread malicious content. It's an impediment when somebody tries to mislead the nation by giving wrong information. And I tell you that when I study on disaster research, I do understand that in some cases, especially in Africa, where during a disaster situation, social media was used to spread wrong information. And that, in fact, misdirected the entire relief and rescue
Aggravated
work
the problem.
during the crisis. So I think but at the same time, I think the government agencies have to ensure that social media platforms are not abused. Those who are trying to misuse it, action can be initiated in a much faster way. I would say, a deterrence effect is created by very stringent norms. Now, for example, during the COVID-19 period, we saw the government amend the Epidemics Act of 1897 by bringing an ordinance because health workers were being attacked. I think
Himanshu, let
to
me come to this question, because you have also been engaging with students at different media institutions, media training institutions. What is that one thing that you find lacking in the current media curriculum in many of these institutions? Because maybe we have tried to bring in the best from the industry, and what is it that you find lacking that we can ensure that we incorporate for the benefit of our students?
Yes, I think theoretically, I mean, of course, you are a leader in this area. I have very limited exposure in terms of the course curriculum, but I can tell you that theoretically, every organization and every media educational institution tries to weave in the best that they can. They always try to update. In fact, a couple of weeks back also, I did learn about the fact that the organizations are every semester they are taking courses off the shelf, adding new courses into their curriculum, which is a very good, vibrant process because communication technology is evolving very fast, and you have to train students to the best of the communication technology, and that is available. But I think that one thing that media organizations need to focus more on is practical work. Now, I see that the emphasis is more on classroom teaching. The emphasis is more on guest lectures. Emphasis is more on classroom work. But I am saying that media educational institutions should send more and more students. I'm not talking about internship here. I'm talking about the fact that you send them to do hard news. And I know that you have been DJ of IMC. IMC has very vibrant media platforms. So if you can just create small media platforms within your educational institution, like a
Absolutely.
newspaper or a community radio station, or a small television, cable TV channel, for example.
Or a YouTube channel.
Responsible. Or a YouTube. YouTube is the best thing, YouTube channel. Or
yes,
a social media platform
absolutely.
where you have to manage the content,
Absolutely.
social media,
Absolutely.
news content, like UPES news content on, let's say, YouTube or social media, and give specific responsibility to students. They will have real-time experience and exposure to how to gather news, and they need not be traveling to Delhi to gather that news. They can just do it in Dehradun. Dehradun becomes the microcosm of the world that they have to work in. And so I think every
Absolutely,
society...
Himanshu. Yeah, I mean, very thoughtful. And I would say that, in fact, you have seen our presentation at the, beginning of this program itself. We showed you the kind of technology, the kind of laboratories we are going to have, the kind of studios that we are going to have. The entire emphasis is on hands-on experience at UPS, and that we can promise that when it comes to television, when it comes to integrated newsroom, that when it comes to convergence media, UPS is going to be second to none, And that brings me to Alka. Alka, in her earlier presentation, she mentioned that she has been interviewing, and she has interviewed thousands of, media aspirants. Now, Alka, what I wanted to know is that what is that thing that you found lacking in media students coming even from the best of institutions, which you feel that, there is a disconnect between the industry and the academia. You know, in fact, in industry, some people tell the students कि अभी तक जितना सीखा है भूल जाओ, अब नया सीखो.
Correct.
You know,
It's a
you
very
first
good
unlearn, then we will teach you again.
it's a very good question, and probably I think you asking that, maybe the answer is not very pleasant. But the thing is, when we go for campus recruitment, or we see the people,
Yes.
and when they pass the interview, come and we have a chat, and suppose three people taking the interview, three senior people in a news channel, and when he or she goes out, and we discuss what these institutions are teaching them, because theory they know, the actual thing, the real thing, the practical thing, they are, I mean, theory they know 80%, good 80% thing is true, but 20% it should be the other way, the workshop, the real time things, and putting them in a real situation. Whatever is happening in the real television world is, I'm not seeing that happening, because I have been to in advisory council of some universities and institute and guest faculty. So whenever I go there, or I have been to, like, sometimes I go for the workshops for different channels like OTV in Odisha, and what I emphasize on was, give them a situation X Y Z. The phrase that the 3-year-old child has fallen into the well. Now this news is breaking. Now how will you handle it? For producer, how will you handle it? For reporter, for anchor, for reporter, for everyone. How will you handle this? Is the situation, and you have 15 minutes to go live. So these kind of work for every department in a news channel, this should be thrown and given for on a day-to-day basis, every day in a day kind of situation, that will make the student more confident when he faces the interview, or he faces any kind of such situation when he enters a television channel, even as on an internship.
Absolutely. And that is why, Alkaji, when we were doing the faculty recruitment, we ensured that people who were purely theoretical, we did not select them, though they were really good. We selected people who had both a theoretical understanding and who had practical experience also. And
Yes.
that is the hallmark of UPS School of Modern Media, That brings me to the last question before we respond to the students' questions. And Himanshu, what does it take to be a good television reporter? If you can share the tips. You have been a successful reporter.
I don't know if successful or not, but I can tell you there are very few things that are very important. One is your ability to work hard. I think news gathering in television is all about field work. Now, you should have natural interest in doing field work. If you think that the entire world is indoors trying to protect themselves and COVID-19 has happened and how can you move out of your home, there is a problem with that thinking. So I think there are 2-3 things. One, I think that reporters have, now why did I decide to become a reporter? Because I thought that it gives me the opportunity to reach out in the field and try and access the information firsthand, and try and see that how world actually works on the ground. And that's what New York Times says, that a reporter, when he files a story, is the first draft of history. So you should have the natural interest, natural urge to not only access information firsthand, but also to share it with the world at large. That, see, this is what has happened. You should have that natural urge to do that. Now, to do that in television, day in, day out, for 20 years, essentially means loads of hard work. Now, and also adaptability, because as you know, that communication technology is constantly changing. And we used to have walkie-talkies when I started reporting in ETV News. And I remember I would carry that walkie-talkie with me.
And those pagers, the walkie-talkies.
Yes. So I would have a walkie-talkie. So I remember that people would look at me thinking that he must be a policeman. He's carrying a
Police
walkie-talkie.
constable, I've also gone
Police
through that
constable.
process.
Yeah, police constable. But I have seen that the communication.
The DTC guy will never ask for a ticket, you know.
Yeah. So this communication revolution that we have all lived through actually has transformed my world from carrying a walkie-talkie in a bus or an auto to a world where I'm now interacting with you, seamless interface. And I've done thousands and thousands of live broadcasts from my home on this small mobile handset. And not only me, but the NDTV network has shifted 3 years back. And it has been a great experience. I can tell you when I went to cover Advaniji's Bharat Uday Yatra in 2004 with, I was leading a team of 14 people in ETV News, 2 OB vans, 2 set of camera person, camera assistant, and a driver, and 1 unit with me. So 3 set of units, 2 OB vans. So I was leading a team of 14 people. My only job would be that whenever there will be a live broadcast, 5 minutes earlier, producer will call me. I will get down from the hotel room, do the live, share the knowledge that I want to share, and then go back to my hotel room. In 2017, when the UP Assembly election was starting, my store manager called me to say that this is the mobile handset that you have, and this is the ticket that you have. So you're leaving tomorrow night for Jhansi to cover UP Assembly elections. And I had a very small mobile phone. He was giving me an iPhone 6 Plus. So I said, sir, आपने मारुति ऑल्टो कार चलाने वाले को मर्सिडीज कार दे दी और कहा कि लखनऊ चले जाओ, कैसे ड्राइव करेगा वो लखनऊ तक? मुझे आईफोन 6 प्लस चलाने ही नहीं आता। तो उन्होंने कहा कि 6 to 8 आवर्स की जर्नी है, ट्रेन में सीख लेना, फोन ही तो है, इसमें क्या सीखना है। ऐसे नहीं, आप समझ नहीं रहे हैं कितना बड़ा कल्चरल चेंज के लिए आप मुझे बोल रहे हैं। तो मैं इसमें ग्राउंड रिपोर्ट कैसे शूट करूंगा जिसमें मुझे 35-40 मिनट का फीड शूट करना है? एंड नॉट ओनली दैट, हाउ विल आई सेंड इट टू माय ऑफिस? He said, no, it will work. Just go ahead. It's a brilliant phone. I went to, it's like I was thrown into a sea and I didn't know how to swim. And that journey from Delhi to Jhansi was the longest journey of my life. And I was constantly thinking what would happen if I fail and what has happened to me. I had 14 people to help me 13 years back when I was a rookie reporter. And now I have to just a mobile phone and I'm going to cover an election campaign. And can you believe I did it? I worked in 7 districts, shot 50 ground reports, and learned on ground, taking help from people, of course, but how to send the feed and of the broadcast quality, which could be broadcast on NDTV. So we have lived through this revolution that has happened, lived through these changes in communication technology. So I think a good reporter, a viable reporter, is one who can adapt to new communication technologies and who can work hard and who has some natural interest in acquiring new knowledge. There's no fourth thing you need. You should know, you learn to speak better with experience. You should try and never say no to work, because every day there's something to learn. I remember my friend told me, his father was a big editor, that if you befriend just one person every day, you end up befriending 365 people in 1 year. In 10 years, you befriend 33,000 people. So small things matter.
And of course, you also need, and of course, you need to be a sensitive human being to the people's plight,
that's a given thing.
To the underdog, to the underdeveloped, downtrodden.
Empathize with people, yeah, of course.
Empathy has to be there with you. And the language skills, language
very
articulation, as you rightly mentioned.
Very important. It's all about speaking. How I communicate what I see is all about language.
Absolutely.
How do I communicate in television? It's only through speaking.
And the quality of the language also. The quality of the language also matters. You cannot be using the Twitter language,
No. Very important. Yeah, of course, yes.
Yes.
Yes, of course it is. And you learn, sir.
Alka,
you learn with experience.
Well, the lady always has the last say. So, Alka, if you can tell us the tips if you can give tips to our students on how to become a good anchor.
Okay. See, we have already talked about that you have to be well informed, because the confidence comes from your knowledge. So that we have already talked about a lot. Now, there is one very important thing which no books tells you, because in a studio situations, sometimes very strange situation develops, and they suddenly come and you have to handle it. I'll give you 2 3
There's
examples,
an
short
earthquake.
examples.
Huh.
Yeah, there's an earthquake.
Huh.
Okay, for example, there's an earthquake, and suppose I am discussing this COVID thing. Suppose I'm discussing COVID-19 and how our medical fraternity are warriors, but they are not getting enough PPEs and things like that. And suddenly I'm told in my ear that there's an earthquake. And what do? Like an earthquake, the epicenter is, suppose it's somewhere in Bihar, right? And they will say, "Ki, there's an earthquake in Bihar. We have only this knowledge, and within a minute we'll connect to somebody in Bihar, somebody in Bihar." Now it's on anchor, because I do not know. I have only this information. So an anchor's presence of mind is very, very important, because here your knowledge doesn't come because there is no knowledge. There's only one information, that there's an earthquake and the epicenter is somewhere in Bihar. So what do? How do you handle this situation? These kind of things, books will never.
You have to engage with the audience.
You have to engage with the audience, and because you are talking to the panelist on COVID, you can engage your panelists, because this is something everybody has some view or the other. And if you know if Bihar is in what technical zone, and whether it's a time when earthquake happened in Bihar, and when was the last bigger earthquake happened, and what was the casualties in that, because you have to engage. So you have to bring all your information which were from the past to your knowledge, and then in the meantime, when you get time, you just find out in the net, about the earthquakes and their epicenter, their magnitude. Where if they are above 6 degree, then there is loss of life and this thing. If they are below 5, there is lesser chances of this. These kind of things happen, and sometimes happens like these days. Anchor has to know how to deal, how to solve the situation. Sometimes there is a cat fight between two guests. What would you do? Suddenly, because your producer is not going to help you, because your on air is happening right there. You should know how to handle it. And sometimes a guest is started shouting on you, and he tries to overpower you, intimidate you. What will you do? Because you have to maintain your calm or whatever. You should know the best solution.
Maintaining calm is very important. When the earthquake, you don't run away from the studio, to save yourself.
I still remember, Professor Suresh, that when in '98, when live thing was first thing happening in India, and nobody was experienced. We were all new. So what happened was, and there was a huge paraphernalia, and I had a panel of 9 people. We were doing it from Aaj Tak Aapka Festival, we were doing it from DD. And suddenly what happened was that previous anchor changed, and I came in his place, and they put the level up. But that was not switched on from the main switch. So I started, when the screen opened, I started hello and welcome and this, but my voice was not going. And the cameraman behind the huge camera was waving his hand like this, but I could not make out, and I could not actually see it because he was in the dark. He was in the dark side, and the well-lit side was the studio side. So we didn't know. And suddenly there was a voice in my distinct, your voice is not going up. It took me just a couple of seconds. My voice is not going. What do? I cannot just stand up from my seat and switch on, which was behind, just near my foot. I cannot do that. This was very odd, because I was all wired up. It was not like today's lapel, which are short and you just put it in your, waistline and this thing. So what I did was, I just turned right, and I applied my presence of mind. Just one thing was sitting next to me, and all guests were having lapel. I said, "Excuse me," and I pulled out his lapel and then pulled the wire very gently, and then I addressed the viewers. Okay, this voice, I think now I'm audible, and my question is this, that, blah 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 blah, and went on. And on the next break, then they sorted, and everybody was. Arun Puri was so happy about that how I handled the situation. These kind of things make you or break you, and they make you. They make your management to decide whether you are an anchor material or not. Any such situation, So the presence of mind is very, very important to handle any situation there. Confidence, presence of mind.
Thank you for sharing those very, very valuable experiences with the younger generation. Perhaps today they won't have to bother about those things. because technology has changed so much. It's like the gearless cars now. So you just have to sit and
Yeah,
start it.
but you have your guests are becoming more and more bold. They can create any such very strange situation, which earlier not used to very common.
Absolutely.
They didn't used to fight
Absolutely.
with each other, but now it's very common nowadays.
So on that note, let us now start taking the questions which are pouring in like anything. So Simmerlin Kaur is asking the first question. This is for Alka ji. Script is made by the anchor or they have an assistant?
Script.
Yes.
Simran, okay. Simran, those scripts are primarily written by a copywriter, and anchor has, if anchor is informed, well informed, then he can do his or her own additions to it. And there are so many levels of checking. Then producer checks it, editor checks it, but anchor, if she or he has a information which can add to that piece, then you can always add it when you are reading. If your information is correct, you can read it. Basic script is there on the teleprompter, but you can add to it also.
Okay. There is also, because some faculty members have also joined, and this question is, I will come to, yes, Dr. Ajitab Singh is asking, excellent session with the veterans. Has goalpost changed from TV to online? Himanshu?
I would say that a lot of TV has come online also. If you see the .coms of news channels, you will see lots of stories now available on the online platform of news channels. And there's a greater adaptability. You see this period of transition that has come, I think it has made it very, very important and imperative for a news platform to have a very active presence everywhere. And I was just seeing the figures that I have about the Twitter followers that major news networks in the world have. CNN, breaking news on Twitter, 55.4 million followers CNN has. The New York Times has 43.6 million. CNN has 42.1 million. BBC breaking news, 40 million followers. News networks worldwide, and even NDTV in India has the highest, 13 million. Times of India, 12.8 million. Now, what has happened is that as some viewers, large number of viewers have moved from television news platform to social media platforms, we have seen that television news networks and even media organizations have also shifted base, and they are spending a lot of time, energy on making their presence felt on online mediums as well. So there is an extension, I would say that there's an expansion of the news services where news channels are now expanding their operations and trying and becoming more and more visible on these social media platforms where large number of people have shifted. So there's one point that Suresh sir had made at the very beginning of his lecture, is the fact that during COVID-19 crisis, a friend told me of a national news channel that his sales had told me that the number of TV viewers have increased 43% in the first 3 to 4 weeks of the COVID-19 crisis. During the COVID-19 crisis, more number of people moved to the television sets to know what was happening in the nation, at the global level, in their locality. And TV actually has regained a lot of space. I think this is something, a subject that of research basically as to whether they still sustain that kind of attraction that they could manage in the initial days. But I do know that for the first 3-4 weeks, 43% in a national news network, very big national news network, the sales had said that 43% increase in TV viewership. What happened was that the serials, the new serials were not being shot. So a lot of people who'd watch, let's say, Saas Bahu serials or other television normal channels, they shifted base. There was a larger restructuring of the viewers base. So this is now in a state of little inchoate at the moment, but we do know that news networks worldwide has made a lot of effort, and I think that they have been very, very successful large number of them, that
Thank
they have
you.
shifted base also on the online platform to just cater to the news and demands of this social media followers who want news on the
Thank you.
platform that
Thank you,
they are
Himanshu.
active on.
Thank you. I would request both the panelists to be a little brief so that we can take as many questions as possible. I don't want anybody to lose out on this. Now, Sakshi Singh has asked, I want to become a journalist, but I'm not good looking. I'm a little bit shy and less confident and not so good in English speaking also, but I'm hardworking. What do you think? Can I do it or not? Sakshi, from my side, you can come to UPS and we will turn you into a great journalist. And to be a journalist, you don't need to be, I mean, good looking within quotes. I don't understand what is the definition of good looking, So, and I'm sure that Alka would be able to throw more light on that. This is a
Sakshi,
question from
the
Sakshi
only
Singh.
thing,
Yes.
yeah, Sakshi Singh, I would like to say that good looking per se is a very relative term, you know. X person can appear good looking to me, but not to somebody else. So forget it. And in a very brief way, I will give my example. I was not an anchor. When I came to journalism, 10 years I did, 9 years I did print. I never knew there would be television news. There was no sign of television news. And when I came to television, I never knew that I'll become an anchor. It was just an accident because I thought I'm a very average person and I am an average person. But I became an anchor and I started anchoring in 95 and till 2014 I was actively anchoring. Yeah. So, but the other three things are very, very important. You have to be confident. You don't have to be shy because you have to be, when you are confident, you cannot be shy. I mean, these two things, in my opinion, are a little contradictory. And you have to be confident. Confidence comes from your information and knowledge. And English and Hindi are not no criteria because both so many things. In Hindi journalism and Hindi television, there are more options. There is more because it's fast. We have more Hindi channels today and more regional
Yes.
channels than English news channels. So you have
Absolutely.
huge opportunity there.
There are two questions. I would like to quickly address them. Skill or institution, what matters most for the bright future in BJMC? Well, absolutely, it is the facilities that you have, the faculty that you have, that is more important. So certainly, the skills institution is very important because if you go to an institution where there are no facilities and there is no good faculty, there is no point going to that institution because they are not going to impart, they are not able to, they will just finish the course, which would hardly prepare you for the industry. So going to the right institution is very important. Another question, does my college matter during an interview or its selection solely based on skill? Well, how will you have skill without going to a good college?
Can I add a point?
Going to a good college is important. Yeah, so sure. Going to a good college is important. And please remember, it is to good colleges that some of the leading companies come for campus placements. Otherwise, if you go to any small time institution without any credibility or credentials, you will have to look for a job for yourself, which is a much, much more difficult task, unlike an institution which actually mentors you and prepares you. Yes, Alka.
Yeah, I was saying it's very, very important because when students used to come, when newcomers used to come and apply for this news channels job, we first see the profile and biodata, and we used to see, okay, from which institute. And then, 3-4 people who are interviewing, after seeing from where he has done his mass communication, we immediately get a basic idea of what he is, capable of. So sometimes we just, after 2-3 questions, because we know that she doesn't have the material because that particular institute or that particular university doesn't have the kind of, veteran, faculty or the equipment to make the person a good, well equipped journalist. So, and from XYZ, if he's coming, then we take more interest and, give him or her more time, ask more questions because we think this could be our future journalist whom we can hire. So that really matters. Your name and brand.
Thank you.
From which you are coming is very, very important.
Himanshu, Girish Chandra Sharma wants to know what should be the strategy of a reporter for reporting news to the online news portal?
Well, the strategy has to be one, it has to be a credible information. Second, you should do research, because I think that online platforms give you a lot of time to not only write a subject on a subject, but also do a lot of research, and a lot of updation space is there. See, when a newspaper is printed, it is difficult for you to make changes in that. But news portals, I remember even when I interact with my online editors, they would say, okay, okay, then we'll update this, your copy now with this new update. So online, working on online portal essentially means, one, that you have to be very, very credible, in the sense that once it comes on the online platform, it becomes visible to millions of people. And so if you put in wrong information, I think within a couple of hours, it will all become visible that perhaps the information that you have shared on the online platform is not credible, because other platforms have a different kind of news item on the same subject. So one is that you have to be credible, you have to work with speed. And second, you get a lot of space for updation. So I think when you get a new news item to work on, you should immediately try and flash it with whatever limited information you have. And then try and collect more and more information as the story develops, and keep updating your story, which is a special feature that online portals have. There's a space that you can, every minute you can update your story. So it's a great platform, very flexible medium, more space for you to do research and do good journalism.
Srishti Maurya, I think that Alka ji has already answered you. What quality should be included to become a news anchor? I think this has already been answered. So Gurmukh Singh Baba is asking Alka ji, is journalism a profession or passion?
Well, it's a very, very interesting question. I think it's more a passion than a profession. It is a profession, of course, but if you do not have that kind of passion which moves you, then you can't be a good journalist. Good journalist should also have a very special ears and eyes. On one situation, a normal person is seeing something, experience something, but a good journalist take out something which is very unusual from that situation, and he makes out what's happening. He can read uh, in between the lines, and he can see beyond a certain place where the normal eyes cannot go. And the passion is very, very important. If you do not have passion, then I think that's the main fabric. Like we say that every fabric cannot make a lehenga. For lehenga, you do not need a khadi or khadar. You need a silk kind of thing. So this kind of fabric. So for this kind of fabric, this passion word is very, very.
Absolutely. Passion is very important. And I have a couple of questions here also. Lavpreet Punnu is asking, do you prefer us to take journalism course? Obviously, I think that both the panelists would agree that a journalism course is a prerequisite. You just cannot walk in. Those days are over when anybody could become a journalist. You need certain skill sets. You need, to know about the media ethics, the laws of the land, the technological aspects, the content writing skills. Now they are specialized skills. So you actually need to go for a course. Isn't that, Himanshu?
Yes, yes. I think it always helps you. See, the idea is that you get a middle ground, a period of transition, I would say. When you finish your university education and when you're going for a professional course, this works like a bridge. It prepares you for that grind that you have to face on the ground. Now, students, when they are doing their graduation, post-graduation, they have very little practical idea about life, about professional life. So all these professional courses essentially are like a bridge. They help you acclimatize to what you can expect later in professional life. They train you so that you are well adapted to the challenges that you will face in professional life. And that is why a lot of focus now is on practical aspects of education, more of I would say less emphasis on theories and more emphasis on practical, so that it enables you to acquire the kind of skills which will help you adapt much better when you move out into the professional world. So I think it always will help you in the sense that it gives you that bridge a kind of a transition phase, I say as I say personally, for you to adapt to the larger professional world that awaits you. So it's very good that you select a
Uh,
good institute, educate yourself, get those skills which are required, and then move into the professional world.
I would like to give one information here, Professor Suresh.
yes, yes, please.
This information is that no news channel, no important or established news channel has any such thing whether you can enter or even apply if you do not have mass communication or journalism. You cannot even apply. Forget about the appear for an interview. They do not enter it. Gone were the days when there were not so many
Absolutely.
courses of universities. Then they were, they used to hire on the
So
capability.
you need a qualification
You need
in
this is basic
journalism to
qualification.
even
You cannot
apply.
apply. You cannot
Absolutely.
apply before this qualification.
Absolutely. Ayush Rock is asking, can you explain what is the process to join your college? Well, obviously to join UPS, please come to the visit our website, and there, you can apply. We have an admissions .ac.in UPS. You please visit that, and you can find out the procedures, and we will have people who will be there to guide you. Last couple of questions, and Soumitra is asking, my question is that, is there a possibility that at some point of time, social media might become such a huge platform that it might actually obliterate the print media by complementing television and digital media channels? Do you see that happening, Himanshu? The print media being obliterated? I don't see that happening in the near future, at least
No,
in language
you
media.
see, I'll tell you. What happens is that I said in the very beginning that when new technology comes into a sector, it reforms that sector. It restructures the way that sector works. It has restructured the way news is processed, if you're talking about media per se. And I was just going through the Twitter followers that different media platforms have. Times of India has 12.8 million followers. When television channels first came, this debate used to happen that what will happen to newspapers now, because television channels are directly, seamlessly broadcasting news in people's home. And people are not only getting audio, but they're also getting the video content. So what will happen to the newspapers? Why would somebody be reading a newspaper when they have seen the news as it works on their television sets? And that debate happened at that time. What has happened over the last period of years is that all those organizations who have adapted to new technologies have not only survived but have been very, very successful. I think what is more important is how different media platforms adapt to the changes that technology brings in. So when the news channels came, no newspaper went anywhere. Of course, there was a change in base, and many newspapers adapted it in different ways. I remember my friends would tell me that the way I will do this story is very different from the way you will do this story. So I would ask him that, why are you saying this? He said that no, the whole day you are saying that cabinet has decided A, B, C, D, E, F. My editor will tell me at 9 o'clock at night that you give me one news which has not been aired prominently on television. So every day, I remember when I will read the newspaper, I will see that one news decision by cabinet, which has not been very widely debated in television studios, will become the front page story of a newspaper. So that the viewers, when they go, so this was the kind of one of the way in which newspapers adapted. And I have seen that no organization is obliterated because of the advent of one technology. Only those organizations are
Absolutely.
obliterated who do not adapt to the new technologies. And if Times of India is the second most used social media platform by Twitter followers at 12.8 million, uh, well, I think Times of India has adapted social media very well. NDTV has 13 million
Absolutely.
followers on Twitter, more than Times of India. So all these media platforms are now part of the social media bouquet, which is now available for you to access news. So there's a great assimilation of interest that is happening. Social media gives the opportunity, media organizations adapt themselves, and that's how the system is working now.
Thank you. Two questions I find related to each other. One is by Srishti Maurya. Can we do job in media after undergraduation or not? I mean, she means graduation. I am confused. Does my college and I want to know more about the future possibilities after completing BJMC. Well, Shrishti, after undergraduation means if you're talking about higher secondary, well, then it's difficult, honestly. You should have a degree, if not a postgraduate diploma or degree, you should have a minimum degree in mass communication for a decent job. That is very important in my view. And as for the job future possibilities after completing BJMC, well, that is open to anybody depending on your skill set, your articulation, and the qualities that both Himanshu and Alka ji mentioned. If you have the qualities and the necessary skill sets, the industry will certainly pick you up for any job. It could be anchor, it could be reporter, it could be sub-editor, it could be any job. Isn't that, Alka ji? Anything you would like to add?
Of course, I think these days graduation is a must for any career, and in this field, graduation in mass communication is a must. Before that, you cannot think of it. And I would like to add one more thing about the previous question. You were saying that all these things like digital media, television, and newspaper, they will complement each other. They will always complement each other. Right. In Western countries, we have seen the digital media is there for so many years, which came later in India. And now also, see, television gives you only front page, and you cannot take that on demand. Suppose you want to read a news of your city or a particular subject, you can't do it in television because his program is already structured in one particular way. He will tell you about that. So you need newspaper also, you need digital. They complement each other. They coexist.
Absolutely. Now there is a question, Himanshu, from Akib Naseem. He is asking, isn't that social media is decreasing the value of journalism and journalists? Nowadays, every citizen who uses social media is a citizen journalist. But what about the fake news? They separate through social media. I hope you got the question.
Yes. I think social media is an opportunity for journalists to have a direct interface with people. And I think that's what journalists are doing.
He's asking, will social media dilute journalism and journalists? Does
no,
it? I don't think.
I don't think. How can it ever dilute? I mean, social media platforms have been there for more than a decade now. I joined Facebook in 2008. I've been on Facebook for 12 years now.
Yes.
Nothing much phenomenally has changed. We see more media platforms active on Facebook now than they were 12 years back. There's a greater adaptability. So I think, you see, people also know. And one concept that Suresh sir has spoken a lot in the last 2 weeks, I'm repeating this, the infodemic is something everyone detests. They know that at a given point of time, if NDTV has 13 million Twitter followers, if Times of India has 12.8 million Twitter followers, if CNN Breaking News has 55 million Twitter followers, these are credible names in media industry. And that's why they have the highest number of followers who not only follow them, but also follow every single news item that is put up by them. So I think there's a greater adaptability, and to see that social media is now distinct from what were earlier seen as traditional modes of media. No, there's a greater interdependence. There's a greater merger of identities. There are more and more media organizations now part of social media platforms. So what has happened is actually a kind of a assimilation of interest between social media and media organizations. And that is why most credible and most followed platforms on social media platforms these days are those big media organizations which earlier were active on, we can say, traditional media technology platforms. They have now come on social media. And here also, they have managed to create that space, that majority space that they have acquired now, is because of the credibility that people always attach to the news that they always created. So I think there's a greater assimilation synergy.
Ishani Ghosh, I think that answers your question also on how social media plays an important role towards journalism. And now we will take the last two questions of the day, because our panelists have, spared this their valuable time from their hectic schedule. And we will take these last two questions, and certainly we will be inviting them in future also. One is from Lucky Bhardwaj. Is there any post for the student belonging from technical background, especially BTech or diploma in computer science and engineering? And well, certainly if you're interested in journalism, then I have BTech students who were my colleagues, who have done it from Roorkee, and then they joined journalism. You can be a tech journalist also. I mean, there are programs even on NDTV, which Himanshu represents, on gadgets and all that. And, you can write on technology. You can, blog on technology. And also, whatever discipline you may come from. I have doctor friends who have shifted to journalism. So, it depends on your background or your inclination, your interest, that, which you want to be a journalist or not. But as for other jobs, maybe Himanshu can throw light. He is somebody from BTech or diploma in computer science and engineering, coming from a technical background. What opportunities does he have?
I think he has as many opportunities as student coming from any stream.
Yes.
It ultimately boils down to how you equip yourself with a knowledge base and a skill base that a media organization needs. I think if you're an engineer, perhaps the understanding will be that you have a better understanding of tech issues, as Suresh has mentioned. And I've been reading about global media organizations. Now, CNN Health Bulletin at one time was always read by a person who was one of the most well-known doctors in US. So I think once you become,
I think you are an Indian doctor, I believe, of Indian origin.
yeah, of course, yes. He was an Indian doctor of Indian origin. So the idea is that there is a lot of space. It all depends on, ultimately you have studied engineering in your graduation, or you have studied history, is a subject that you always aspire to learn. Now, when you have decided to go into a particular domain of expertise in your professional life, what matters now is how well you equip yourself with the kind of skill base that a media organization needs. It doesn't matter what you had studied in graduation. What matters more is how well you adapt and how useful your media organizations look at you as an asset. And I think many of my friends who have perhaps better understanding of Indian politics were all students of either agriculture, technologies, or other areas. See, these are subjects that we deal with: politics, social world, social science.
Absolutely.
A lot of things happens on your personal interest, the passion that Alka ma'am talked about. If you're passionate about Indian politics, if you're passionate to learn about field work, if you're passionate to talk to people, if you're passionate to befriend people.
Like Himanshu is passionate about disaster research,
Yes, I do research on that.
So, Alka ji, the last question for you. The lady must have the last laugh and the last say. So, this is from Dr. Lopamudra Bhattacharji. She is asking, Madam, do you support anchors making opinion on critical issues rather than just reporting?
Well, in my opinion, I do support it, because anchors are not a piece of wood or a piece of glass, or you can say a reflection of a report. After the report, they have a right, they have a mind of their own, they have their own understanding about the subject, they have their own information. So according to that, they can give their view, but they are not asking you to follow their view. They conclude it. They sometimes analyze it in their own way. Like you read in newspaper, you have op-ed, opinion pages, opinion articles. So every journalist who has a mind will think through it and will also let you know how he thinks about it, because he has lots of information about the things he's talking about.
Yes. Thank you, Alka ji. Any last comments both of you would like to make? Because we have tried to accommodate as many questions as possible. Some of them are repetitive and some of them are not relevant. So I have avoided them, and it's also time is up. But still, any last piece of advice for aspiring students from both of you? Last couple of words.
Yeah, I would like to say that there's one thing, because since we are discussing social media also, and there's this traditional thing like anchoring and reporting and television journalism. I say that if there's anything constant in life, that is change. So it is applicable to journalism also. So whatever technological changes are coming, adapt them. Be adaptable to whatever changes are coming in communication industry, and just put your best foot forward. That's it. So that's why I think that's all.
So put your best foot forward, Himanshu.
Yeah, and also acquire knowledge side by side. See, there is in this age of infodemic, as you very rightly say, it is very important that you see primary sources of information is available to everyone. Now, what is becoming more and more crucial for a journalist is how well he or she can process that primary source of news, which is available everywhere. Now, my wife laughs at me that very often about the lockdown restrictions that are being lifted, she gets information before I do. Because in her social media, WhatsApp groups, the information runs much faster than it comes through the official channels in my groups. So that is the new world, in the sense that you have to be, you should know how to chaff out from what is credible, what is not credible. But above all, it is very important for reporters now, when all the primary information is being circulated by agencies, government institutions on their own. They don't need reporters to be vehicle or the carriers of that information. So you will do well in life if you can process this information well, analyze them well, and try and clear the air on every story, and declutter news from what is views, and then try and present it to people. I think you will be more and more successful if you can process news better, analyze it better, research better, and develop a new perspective and present it before the people, because that is what people want: quality of information and not the
Absolutely.
volume of news.
Thank you, Himanshu. So passion and knowledge are the two key takeaways from this session. That is very important for a successful career in television anchoring and reporting, adaptability to technology, and of course, hard work, acquiring knowledge, being tech savvy. All these aspects also have to be factored in. And I see a lot of youngsters who have showed immense interest. Thank you to both the panelists for sparing time from their hectic schedule, sharing their wisdom, from coming from their long experience in the industry with the students, and making this happen. Thank you so much. And thank you, dear students, for participating in it. And keep watching this space for more of such important and relevant discussions. And thank you, team UPS, Anamika, Kanika, Aditi, Siddharth, and the technical team who are all present here for making this program a huge success. I look forward to meeting some of you at the UPS School of Modern Media from the coming academic session. And I can assure you that these two eminent panelists are going to be there to guide you and to help you in becoming good journalists and making your dreams come true. On that note, tomorrow starts now. And from UPS, from the School of Modern Media, wish you the very best. Stay safe and stay home. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Thank you.
Thank you, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.